Hey everyone. So today's topic is one that so many English learners struggle with. You understand English, but you can't speak it. Sound familiar?
Well, it's such a common issue. But here's the thing. We're not here to tell you the same old stuff you've heard before.
Yeah, we're not going to tell you keep practicing, don't be afraid, embrace mistakes, or talk to native speakers. I mean, you already know those tips, right?
Oh, totally. And honestly, hearing that over and over doesn't really help much. It's like, okay, I get it. But what else?
Right. So today, we're diving deeper. We want to give you fresh ideas that actually help you start speaking confidently.
No boring advice here, just real strategies you can try today. Let's get into it.
So, let's start by talking about understanding English. If you can follow conversations or understand what people are saying, that's already a massive achievement. It shows you've built a strong vocabulary and developed your listening skills.
Absolutely. But here's the thing. Understanding is just one step in the process. Speaking is the next level, and it's a totally different skill. It's like this. You've gathered all the materials to build a house. You have the bricks, the wood, the nails, and the tools. But you don't know how to put them together yet.
That's a perfect example. Knowing words and grammar is like having those materials, but speaking is like building the house. You have to figure out how to organize everything in your mind and express it clearly. It's not just about the tools, it's about learning the process.
And honestly, it is so common for even native English speakers to face difficulties in expressing themselves. Did you know that Winston Churchill, one of the most famous public speakers of all time, had trouble expressing himself as a child? He actually had a slight speech impediment.
Wow, really? That's such an amazing story. It's a good reminder that speaking is a skill anyone can develop with practice. You should think about how to train your expressive thinking, which is not just about English language skills.
That's right. One way to develop this skill is by writing. Writing is sometimes called the mirror of the mind because it reflects how you think, feel, and organize ideas. It's like a workout for your brain. It helps you structure your thoughts in a clear way.
And the best part? You don't need to write anything super complex. Just start small. For example, you could write about your day, something as simple as, "Today, I went to the park." Then, as you get more comfortable, you can add details like, "I saw a family having a picnic and the weather was sunny." Once you are good at it, continue to add details such as, "I think going to the park is a good way to take a break. Life is so fast-paced these days, and we need to relax properly."
We know you spend a lot of time each day watching videos on how to learn English, but what we're trying to say is, please take a moment to write.
And now I have to mention a misconception. Don't think of learning English as just putting words and sentences into your brain. I mean, input is important, but output, like writing and speaking, is equally crucial. It's how you take what you've learned and turn it into something you can use.
That's so true. Have you heard of the Feynman technique? It's a learning method where you teach what you know to someone else in the simplest way possible. When you write in English, think of it like teaching. Pretend you're explaining your ideas to a friend who's just starting to learn.
Oh, that's such a good approach. And hey, for everyone listening right now, why not practice with us? Write a comment in English. It doesn't have to be long or perfect. Just tell us about your day, your thoughts on this topic, or anything you're learning.
Yes. And the cool thing is, when you write, you can look back on your progress. Maybe the first time it's just a few sentences. But after a few weeks, you'll notice you're writing more, using better vocabulary, and feeling more confident.
And remember, speaking and writing are connected. The more you practice writing, the more comfortable you'll feel forming sentences when you talk. So don't skip this step. It's like building the foundation of your speaking house.
Well said. Let's keep going and talk about the next big challenge learners face, translating from your native language into English. That's where a lot of people get stuck.
Have you ever heard of conditioned response? It's when your brain responds automatically to something without you having to think about it.
Yeah, and when it comes to speaking English, a lot of learners haven't built those response yet. That's why speaking feels hard. It's not because you don't know the words, but because your brain isn't trained to respond quickly in English.
Many English learners fall into a common habit. They hear a question, think about the answer in their native language, and then try to translate it into English before speaking.
And that process takes a lot of time. By the time you've translated everything, you might feel stuck or nervous, and you're overloading your brain.
Right. Let me ask you, have you ever struggled to find the right word in your mind? Maybe you couldn't think of it fast enough, but later you realized you did know the perfect word for it.
That happens to so many learners. The good news is, this shows you already have the knowledge. You just need to train your reaction speed. It's like having the right tools but needing practice using them.
One way to train your brain is through continuous input. The more you hear English, the more natural it becomes. Your brain will start to recognize patterns and phrases without translating.
Yeah, it's like muscle memory. Think of athletes. They practice the same moves over and over until their bodies just know what to do. Learning to speak English works the same way.
So, imagine you're talking to someone in your native language. No matter what they ask, you usually respond right away. You don't stop to think about every single word before you say it.
That's because you've spoken about similar things before. Your brain already knows what to say without much effort. It's like your past experiences create shortcuts for how you respond.
But in English, you might not have enough of those shortcuts yet. You've never said anything similar in English before, so your brain needs extra time to figure it out.
Well, makes sense. The good news is, you can fix this by practicing something we call retelling. It's simple, but super effective.
Here's how it works. When you're bored or have a quiet moment, think about something that happened to you, maybe today or last week. Then try to explain it to yourself in English.
You can also do this when you watch the news, a movie, or even listen to a podcast. Pay attention to what they're talking about and think, have I experienced something like this before? Then try to retell your experience in English.
And don't worry about making it perfect. Just focus on practicing the words and phrases that come to mind. Over time, you'll build those shortcuts for different topics, just like in your native language.
And story-based podcasts are especially helpful for this. They're great for imagining real-life situations and learning how people naturally talk.
Another tip, Google something like IELTS speaking topics. You'll find tons of simple questions on daily life, like, do you have a busy social life? Or, what do you do in your free time? Try answering them out loud in English.
That's such a good idea. It's like training your brain to handle conversations about common topics. Once you've practiced enough, you'll start responding without even thinking about it.
And the more topics you practice, the more confident you'll feel. It's all about building those experiences in English so your brain doesn't have to work so hard.
Let's move on to our last part, turning passive fluency into active fluency.
Well, this is a natural step for English learners.
Right. Passive fluency means you can understand English well, but speaking it feels difficult. You just need to practice transforming that understanding into words.
A great way to do this is by reading out loud. It might sound simple, but it's really effective. Why is that, Luna?
Well, when you read out loud, you're training your brain to believe you're fluent. It's like telling yourself, hey, I can do this. Over time, your brain starts to think in English more naturally.
And it's not just about fluency. Speaking out loud also builds confidence. Think about it. Don't you know people who seem so sure of themselves just because they speak clearly and loudly?
Exactly. Studies even show that speaking out loud makes people feel more confident. The more you practice, the more you'll believe in your ability to speak English.
And here's the thing. If you speak too softly, it often makes you feel more nervous. It's like a cycle. The quieter you are, the harder it gets to express yourself.
That's so true. But when you raise your voice just a little, you'll start to feel more in control. Your words will come out more smoothly, too.
So try it. Start with a book or even a podcast transcript. Read it out loud for just a few minutes every day.
And don't rush. Focus on clear pronunciation and feeling confident as you speak. It's not about perfection. It's about building that connection between your brain and your voice.
Soon enough, you'll notice a difference. You'll not only sound more fluent, but also feel more comfortable speaking English in any situation.
Absolutely. It's all about taking that passive fluency you already have and turning it into active fluency. With time and practice, it'll feel natural.
So, to everyone listening, don't just listen to English. Speak it out loud every chance you get. Your confidence will grow faster than you think.
Now, here's our question for you. What's your biggest struggle with speaking English? Is it confidence, finding the right words, or something else? Let us know in the comments.
And if you try any of these tips today, tell us how it goes. We'd love to hear about your experience and cheer you on.
Thanks for listening to Daily Native English. Keep practicing, keep believing in yourself, and remember, we're here to help you every step of the way.
See you next time, everyone. Take care and keep speaking.